Hello tourists, Tour de Force here. I've recently been listening to a band that I only heard of through watching their live performances. That band being Glassjaw, the vocalist of which captivated me immediately into listening to their whole discography. So in this video, I want to give a short guide to Glassjaw's discography, so that anyone watching this video might be encouraged into checking them out as well. Anyways, let's get into it. Starting off first with the introduction to the band. Glassjaw is a late 90s to late 2010s post-hardcore band from Hempstead, New York. The founding members of the band are the vocalist Daryl Palumbo and guitarist, drummer, keyboards, bassist, basically f***ing everything, Justin Beck. Besides those two, the band's lineup changes very frequently. Their music is known to be very energetic and is very much connected to the hardcore scene of their hometown area. Another huge influence besides that hardcore scene is Faith No More and Mr. Bungle vocalist Mike Patton, who Daryl Palumbo looks up to a lot. That's the most basic rundown I can give as an introduction, so let's get into their discography. The first album on our list in their discography is Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Silence. Maybe not the strongest start for newcomers to their discography, but this album is necessary to let you know what their music is really about. Okay, the lyrical content is extremely hateful and borderline misogynistic without context, but with context, this album is much more understandable. Definitely not an easy album to stomach if you care for lyrical content. Aside from that, the instrumentals of this album are extremely dissonant. The sheer anger from Daryl's vocal performances are palpable, and the instrumentals for each song add more to that rather than take away. A good way to describe this album would be deranged, as it goes from soft interludes to loud, screeching segments within seconds. A lot of this album focuses on harsh, screaming vocals, and contouring the voice in ways that'll catch most people off guard. If you like chaotic, noisy, vulgar, energetic, and hateful hardcore music, you'll probably like this one. After the hatred-fueled debut album, it took them 2 years to release their magnum opus, Worship and Tribute. This album was meant to be the antithesis to what happened in the previous album. Much more passionate and lighthearted in tone and lyrical content, it still doesn't let up with the insane energy that they were known for. Lots of the lyrics on this song deal with heavy topics, such as drug addiction, the 9/11 attacks, politics, and most of all, moving on from what he was going through on the previous album. The music is still very much a rhythmical machine, and the sound is still, well, brick-walled. What I mean by that is that the production in general is way more compressed than the rawness of the last one. But the compositions are more crazy than ever, with lots of twists and turns, lots of anxiety and melody, and lots of noise. Compared to the first album, they definitely focused more on the melodic quality of the singing. Regardless of that though, it didn't stop Daryl from unleashing many moments of vocal intensity akin to Mike Patton. Tip Your Bartender is an excellent opener that immediately puts the listener into the chaotic inferno of Glassjaw's music. Daryl's voice is so strong and cuts through the guitars like butter. You will immediately be able to tell if this music is for you just by the opener. Aside from that, MU Empire is an amazing riff and rhythm to it. Trailer Park Jesus and the Gillette Cavalcade of Sports reminds you of the emo qualities that this band is capable of creating. And songs like Pink Roses and Stuck Pig are unrelenting in their energy. In fact, this whole album is pretty unrelenting in energy in general. Overall, if you're going to give this band a listen, this album would be the best start. whole 15 years after Worship and Tribute, we finally get to their next album in their discography, that being Material Control. This album sees the band move more into noise rock territory, with even more dense production, also possibly their most dissonant, and with a small disconnect to their past melodic roots. Not a complete disconnect though, just maybe not as overtly catchy as those on Worship and Tribute. What's crazy is that he still hasn't lost his voice within those 15 years. This album is also not as energetic, powerful, or anthemic as their past efforts, but that isn't inherently a bad thing. Material Control is still a very intense and focused record, clocking in at just 36 minutes compared to Worship and Tribute's 45, and their first album's 52. Material Control has more in common with their EPs than their past albums. If anything, Material Control is more focused than their other two albums, for better or for worse. Regardless though, I still recommend this album to anyone who prefers a tight, more cohesive record. Now we're gonna get into their EPs. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, an EP from 1997, is more connected to hardcore than it is emo. Many of the instrumentals are speedy and aggressive, making it sort of like the bridge between Faith No More and Helmet. Some of the songs even have thrash metal influence. The EP itself sounds pretty underproduced, which makes sense considering its placement within their discography. There are still moments of vocal melody on here though, which Daryl seems to interject with the songs every now and then. If you like the more raw, hardcore side of Glassjaw, you might be more likely to enjoy this one. The latter half of this EP contains a lot of vocal acrobatics as well. El Mark, an EP from 2005, definitely aims to regain that energy left over from Worship and Tribute. The songs in general are B-sides from that album, so if you enjoyed the album Worship and Tribute, you'll love the song El Mark by default. However, the other two songs on the EP showcase an entirely new side to Glassjaw. The number No Good Things Can Come Of is a piano number, and the song Oxycodone is an exploration of jazzy tones. If you like a good variety to your EPs, this one has a decent amount on it, even if it only has 3 songs. Our Color Green is my personal favorite project of them in general, even more than Worship and Tribute. The production here is more clear than ever, and isn't as brick-walled as some of their other works. The songs in here are also some of the best they've done, and has some of the best melodies they've ever made, in my opinion. This EP also showcases Daryl's vocal prowess completely, with songs like All Good Junkies Go to Heaven showcasing the emo side, and You Think You're John Fucking Lennon showcasing his more hardcore tendencies. A fantastic EP, and definitely a great starting point to this band. Coloring Book is their most experimental in texture and tonality, as well as influences. The production on this album is extremely dense, possibly their most dense actually, and is akin to shoegaze at times. The way the drums and bass lock each other in is very similar to dub as well, making it a major influence on this album. Songs like Vanilla Poltergeist Snake showcase this dub influence the most. Daytona White, however, also showcases a jazzy cocktail sort of vibe to this EP, sort of similar to what Oxycodone did in the El Mark EP. Also, why the fuck did they put almost 2 minutes of just straight bass at the end of Stations of the New Cross? They also put like 1 minute of straight drums on You Think You're John Fucking Lennon on the Our Color Green EP. They also explore with electronic keyboard tones more often than ever on this. So if you like that type of thing, check this one out. That's the end of Glassjaw's discography so far, but there are some notable mentions such as the band Head Automatica. Daryl Palumbo's sort of defunct side project that is rooted in power pop alternative rock, and dance music. There's also United Nations, a 2000s to 2010s anonymous band who specializes in hardcore punk and screamo. The reason this band remained anonymous was due to record label restrictions, and so Daryl Palumbo's presence in this band has been debated for a while, but I think it's safe to say that he was part of it at some point. The only thing that I can find for Justin Beck was that he was in 1999's metalcore band Sons of Abraham, who actually released their debut before Glassjaw did. This album, while not very well known, puts Justin Beck's genius guitar riffage skills in the spotlight, and many of the ideas on this album would inspire his guitar parts on Glassjaw's debut. The last song on Sons of Abraham's debut, Last Year Halloween Fell on a Weekend, was directly reused in the song Siberian Kiss. Well, we're reaching the end of this video here, but aside from that, the only thing of recent times that Glassjaw has released is a single collaborating with Lil Uzi Vert and Bring Me the Horizon called Amen in 2023. Who knows, maybe soon the band will release another EP or LP, and then we can see how their recent influences have changed their sound. Anyways, that ends off this small guide to Glassjaw. Let me know what you all think in the comments below and if I missed anything. Also be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. Thanks for watching everyone, Tour de Force out.